Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pitch 2019. My name is Cy Schroeder, along with Harry Kanan and Kat Krieger. We are the co-managing directors of the MIT 100K. For over 3 decades, the 100K has helped promote startups and innovation at MIT. And tonight, we're excited to hear from some of the best early-stage entrepreneurs that this campus has to offer.
So as always, we could not put this event on without the help of some very valuable partners. So first, I just want to give a huge thank you to the judges, both here and those who helped us in our virtual rounds. These judges, they donate their time for nothing in return other than to help choose the entrepreneurs that are going to advance and compete in the 100K. And we really, really appreciate it. So please join me in giving them a round of applause.
In addition to our judges, we want to give a huge thank you to our sponsors who not only provide funding to put on this event and all of our events throughout the year, but they also open their doors and give us so much advice, not only to the organizing team, but to all the competitors, those who are in the finals, those who aren't. They're extremely generous. So to Akamai, our platinum sponsor, to our gold sponsors, Wilmer, Hale, Goodwin, Wolf Greenfield, and Morgan Lewis, and to our silver sponsors, Latham & Watkins and Sidon, thank you so much. We could not do this without you.
Finally, to our competitors, as well as all of those who are involved in entrepreneurship here at MIT, without you, the 100K would truly not be possible. So thank you for everything that you do to make this the most exciting and innovative place on Earth. Now for some logistics. Tonight we're going to hear pitches from 15 finalists, each competing to win $5,000. Each team will have 90 seconds to give their pitch, followed by 2 minutes of Q&A. There will be a timer, and the buzzer will go off if you go over time. So please keep your pitch and responses under these limits, or I will have to awkwardly rush you off the stage. For the audience, I need your help here too. Whenever you see this timer go to 0, I want you to start clapping. That will give the entrepreneurs notice that it's time for them to wrap it up, and it'll help us keep the show moving along. For anyone who has a cell phone, please turn your phones to silent or do not disturb. Another note, we will be powering straight through all of these 15 pitches, so if you have to leave, please wait to do so until in between the presentations as to not disrupt the competitors. Lastly, there will be a brief period at the end of the event where the judges will leave to deliberate and select the winner. We promise this will be quick and ask that you remain seated during this time until we announce the winners. While this is happening, you will also have the opportunity to cast your vote for the $2,000 Audience Choice Award. The last step before we get to the main event is to introduce our amazing lineup of judges. So, furthest to the left, we have Richard DeLude, co-founder and partner at Underscore VC, an early-stage venture capital firm based in Boston that invests across the technology stack, from SaaS applications to cloud infrastructure and edge computing. Richard leads Underscore's investments in the area of blockchain, artificial intelligence and machine learning, XR, and serverless technologies. Richard is a programmer turned entrepreneur turned VC. He started his career as a quant at Goldman Sachs, built out a skunkworks team that launched the D2C e-commerce business at Procter & Gamble before starting his own machine learning startup to mine insights from social media for brands. Richard spent the earlier part of his venture career at Founder Collective before founding Underscore VC. He holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and a master's and bachelor's degrees in engineering from Cornell University. Thank you for being here, Richard. Next up, we have Catherine Hayes, co-founder and CEO at Vavoom, a SaaS platform that mobilizes a brand's customers into a top sales force, passionate recruiters, and brand ambassadors. Prior to starting Vavoom, Catherine was the CEO of Gen Arts, an inside venture partners company acquired by software company Boris FX, and co-founder and COO of in-game advertising company Massive, which is acquired by Microsoft. She has over a dozen of technical patents to her name, was named one of Mobile Marketer's Mobile Women to Watch in 2017, and has been featured in major publications like the New York Times. Catherine holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and, a bachelor's in arts and archaeology from Princeton University. Thank you for being here, Catherine. Next up, we have Andrew Ambrosino, co-founder and CEO at Catch, the first personal benefits platform built for freelancers, contractors, gigsters, part-time, and other non-traditional workers. Prior to Catch, Andrew was Vice President of Product Design, Front-End Engineering, at Kuiper, a data-as-a-service marketplace platform. Before that, he worked in various product design and engineering roles at companies like Mitra, Parable, Up There, Salucro, and Microsoft. And he was also selected as a Kleiner Perkins Fellow. Andrew holds a bachelor's in computer science from UMass Lowell. Thank you for being here, Andrew. Next up, we have Heather Ritchie. Heather is Vice President of Product at Ember Labs, a technology company that focuses on wellness that harnesses the power of cutting-edge technology to improve thermal comfort. Heather has deep experience in product management with a consistent track record of developing and launching successful healthcare and technology products for consumers and business users. Prior to Ember, Heather was VP of Product Strategy and Development at Real Endpoints, the Senior Director of Product Strategy at Eliza, VP of Product Management at Zacapoint Health, and Director of Digital Solutions at Anthem. She holds a master's in healthcare policy and management and bachelor's in biochemical sciences, both from Harvard University. Thank you for being here, Heather. And lastly, we have Sam Clemens. Sam is a partner at Accomplice VC, an early-stage venture capital firm that invests in a variety of technology sectors where he focuses on B2B software and marketplace investments. Prior to Accomplice, Sam was co-founder and chief product officer of Boston-based business analytics company Insight Squared. He was also VP of product at HubSpot, VP of product at BuzzAgent, which was acquired by Tesco, and the initial product lead at elance.com. In his free time, Sam enjoys diving shipwrecks in the New England area. I had to include that. And he also has an MBA from Harvard Business School, and where he is a professor and entrepreneur in residence, as well as a bachelor's in applied math from Yale. Thank you again for being here, Sam.
We believe the lack of quality daycare in the US takes women out of the workforce, widens the educational gap between the rich and the poor, and destabilizes families financially. Daycare often costs more than rent. I want you to imagine you're a young professional woman. You're heading back to work after the birth of your child and have found that all the best daycare facilities have a wait list of up to a year. You could go with a lower quality option, or there's a local woman who watches kids from her home, but you're not quite sure if you can trust her. You decide to stay home with your family full time, hoping it will only be short term. Many of these women will never make it back to the professional trajectories that they left. To solve this, we're building excellent daycare facilities that oversee networks of in-home care providers. Imagine a second scenario. You come and visit one of our facilities. You connect really well with the manager. She seems great, and this facility is really well run. They still have a wait list, but they invite you to visit one of the in-home care providers that they oversee directly. You go for a visit. The kids are engaged and thriving. It's the same educational program and the same safety standards. You decide this is an option you can trust and are excited to see how your child will develop here. We believe locally managed networks of in-home care providers will increase access to quality daycare because daycare matters to women, to children, and to families. They can take it, yeah.
We ask questions? Yeah. What would you say your biggest differentiators are versus the alternatives?
Yeah, so compared to traditional daycare facilities, our biggest differentiator is access and the ability to scale supply as demand increases. When you compare us to platforms in this space, so people selling a platform service kind of managed locally or managed centrally at a national level, and we like to think that the trust that we provide at a local level differentiates us because it's easier to trust someone that you can see and talk to who's overseeing that facility as opposed to someone who's in a different state who's never even been to your town.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I can confirm this is a real market. I just invested in a company that does this 3 weeks ago. The market is enormous. What is your value prop to existing home daycare facilities? Why would they seek you out?
Yeah, great question. So most of the home daycare providers that we've talked to, most of their clients come from their friends. So they take a step back from their career to watch their own children, and their friends say, hey, take care of mine as well. What winds up happening is that as their kids age, they lose access to a client base. And we think that by us kind of providing these networks and access to an ongoing client base, as well as continual training, that there'll be sufficient value for them to stay with us. Everybody's on board, that's great. Love it.
So, quick question. Outside of kind of the oversight of local managers, how will you maintain quality across your whole ecosystem as it grows?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the things that we really rely on is the ability to quickly distribute trainings, as well as security cameras in facilities, including in-home care. So we would imagine randomly auditing those and having people aware that you're doing that as well. Thank you.
Sasha is a 26-year-old with myasthenia gravis, a devastating neuromuscular disease. And she almost died in my emergency department last year because the weakness in her breathing muscles was caught too late. Neuromuscular diseases cost $30 billion a year in the US alone, but there's still no good way to monitor muscle health outside of the hospital. Now, EMG, electromyography, really is the right tool for the job, but today's machines are expensive, the size of a refrigerator, and really provide quite poor data quality. At MyoSense, we've developed, along with our manufacturing partners, an end-to-end system that is less expensive, much smaller, and leverages machine learning algorithms to turn noisy data into meaningful insights. We're already collecting clinical data, and we have a fantastic team. My name is Brandon. I'm a practicing physician and proven entrepreneur. My co-founder, Matt, is a bioengineer and business development specialist. We also have partners at MIT that are PhD data scientists, as well as clinician partners at MGH. Sasha deserves better, and so do the millions of other patients across the world with neurodegenerative muscular diseases. At MyoSense, we're arming clinicians and drug development teams with a powerful new tool, and we're giving patients like Sasha a fighting chance. Thank you.
So how do you intend to go to market? Common paths would be via insurance, but it takes a while to get a code. Via employer, but then you need to build a sales team, takes a while. Yeah. Or direct to consumer, and it's hard to get willingness to pay because they're used to things being paid by insurance.
I think you hit the head right on the first point. We're definitely going to have to find a crafty way to approach health insurance companies, because from all the physicians we've been talking to, billing is going to be one of the biggest hurdles we can overcome, or we need to overcome. And we think that we have an interesting approach to circumvent some of the current barriers that a lot of med device companies are facing. And so I think we're definitely going to approach insurance companies, followed by possible healthcare providers.
Initially, I'd also add that we do have sort of an in-between approach of approaching the athletic industry. And so there's a lot of folks there that are recovering from injury. They have the same, in the opposite direction, but the same types of damage to muscles that we see clinically. And so that is an area that is much less regulated and more highly studied. That would be a very quick beachhead market that then we could use success from there to kind of pivot as we move through those regulatory hurdles into the clinical atmosphere.
If you could only focus on one area, literally one thing to do for the next 12 months as your kind of beachhead, what would that be?
Well, currently we're validating our technology in the world of sports physical therapy and performance because it's a highly studied field and the patients are very easy to access. Now, that's not our end game because we need to generate data quickly. It's just a means to generate our algorithm. Beyond that, we look to partner with pharmaceutical companies so that we can support their clinical trials and monitor disease progression as they evaluate their drugs. And that's where we can find some short-term value as well as clinical validation.
Yeah, so thank you.
Imagine You're riding on the road for more than 12 hours every single day, beating dust, pollution, and traffic. You're delivering meals to more than 24 happy families every single day, working really, really hard. And then one day, you get news that a little daughter has fallen really sick and needs to be admitted into the hospital. But you don't have the funds for it. And there's no health insurance. The only option you have right now is to go to a loan shark and get a loan at a very high interest rate. While we sit here in the comfort of Cambridge, Massachusetts, there's more than 15 million gig economy workers like this in India who are facing the harsh realities of life. This problem alone is worth more than $7 billion annually. Hi, we are Team GigFin, and we are a financial wellness platform that works with gig companies in India to provide emergency working capital loans, instant savings, and digital budgeting solutions to help the gig economy workers, such as ride-sharing drivers, food delivery people, etc. We leverage artificial intelligence tools to come up with unique credit scores, which are based on a combination of non-traditional and traditional metrics, because many of them don't even have credit scores, no credit history.
So I think it's a big problem, not just in India, but here. We're working on it here, and it's really complicated. I guess my question would be, when going to these platforms, what is the short history of their regulatory kind of murkiness there, and how do you plan to address that?
Who wants to go?
So in India itself, we realize that there is pressure from the government to increase financial security for gig workers in India. So we are thinking by providing financial wellness for gig employers in India, we also, the gig platforms also will benefit from our platform.
Financial inclusion is a very big concern of governments around the world, and especially in emerging markets, where gig economy workers, after paying their car loans, insurance, gas, and all, are hardly left with any money for any emergencies or any problems. So it's a very, very harsh situation. Yeah, they live hand to mouth, many of them.
So many of the gig companies have recognized that this is a huge market and the revenue model is gorgeous, and they're starting to offer this themselves. Are you going to partner with them and offer it for them, or compete against them?
So we are going to partner with gig companies in ride-sharing, errand, food delivery, etc. So we're going to partner with them, and we've actually, had discussions, and the response so far is very positive. So, yeah, it's a very big opportunity, and there's a lot of demand for it, both from the gig economy workers and the companies.
Think back to your typical Friday evening dinner. You walk in, sit down, and enjoy a nice meal. But now, imagine that through the eyes of someone with a physical, sensory, or intellectual disability. Suddenly, you're overwhelmed by the busy colors on the wall, the glare of the fluorescent lights, and that distant buzzing noise from the kitchen. For 1 in 5 Americans, these seemingly mundane tasks prevent them from engaging in society with even one of the most basic tasks, getting food. The problem is perpetuated by poor information and other daily triggers in local businesses. This is where Villi comes in to fill the gap. Restaurants and other franchises will be rated based on accessibility, sensory stimuli, and other accommodations for the special needs community, all collected on an open source platform. We've begun in our New York chapter, where my co-founder works directly with the special needs community every day. Modeling after the $193 million company Yelp, we're providing our services free of charge until gaining a traction of around 100,000 users. Then, switching to an ad-based revenue system targeted at local businesses, will charge prices such as $1 to $5 per click based on factors such as commonality of the ad word and impression of the user after the click. Together, we can help elevate the voices of the 54 million Americans with special needs, which is why our mission is very simple. We want to make it easier for the special needs community to use their local businesses. Thank you.
It's a great pitch. Tell me a bit about an example that brings it all to life for you.
So if you go into a restaurant and you may see like a swirl or a combination of colorful lights, these different categories can really prevent people from going into the restaurants. And if you think back, there's around 54 million people with special needs, but how many times do you see them in a restaurant?
Thank you.
So did I hear you correctly that you've launched this in New York?
Yes, my co-founder works at a hospital in New York.
And what has been the kind of market user feedback so far?
We actually started just this month, and we're scaling around like 10 to 50 different customers.
Have you explored other models for monetizing beyond advertising? I know the advertising industry, especially that last click, is getting some pushback, and have you thought about other models?
Yes, we have. We want to start with the advertisement because we don't want to charge our customers anything at this point because of all the funds they already have to spend on the special needs. We're very excited because if you think about it, the special needs community is one of the most collaborative communities you can think of. They have so many questions they want to figure out, and there's very few places to find these answers because you don't think about this stuff when you walk into a restaurant, but some people do.
Doctors don't care about the patient experience. A drastic statement, which we tend to disagree with, but it is true that patients often have a terrible experience when visiting their doctors. And it is not necessarily the care itself, but the experience around the appointment, the lack of information, and insufficient communication. PatientPort is here to change that. PatientPort's vision is to build a patient experience management platform that enables doctors to better serve their customers. The first market we identified is the European dental industry. With over 250,000 dentists, it is a large service-based industry that is suffering from segregated communication and legacy IT. The MVP of our cloud-based SaaS solution will consist of primarily two functionalities: an integrated communications interface that is linked to the calendar and the file sharing system, and a holistic marketing and analytics dashboard providing insights to doctors. My name is Carlo, I'm from Germany, and I grew up in a family of dentists. I also worked in our dental healthcare clinic for over 2 years, experiencing and witnessing the problem firsthand. My CTO and co-founder Pulkit graduated with his Master of Mechanical Engineering from MIT before starting Illumina Africa, a solar startup in Kenya. Our vision is to empower doctors to better serve their customers, and by entering the European dental industry, we believe that we take the first step in making this vision a reality.
So I like the opportunity for a solution here, frankly. Any software that looks like it was written after 1995 will probably do well here.
Yes.
I think the challenge is that the go-to-market strategy you've chosen of the dental market. Why there? Is there enough pain in that particular use case? Why not go after the more general medical health market where some of the patient needs for information might be more robust?
So after looking into the market, I think we identified 3 core pain points that we can solve. Dentistry is inherently preventive, which allows doctors to actually push services to their patients instead of simply waiting for the next hole in a tooth to appear. Secondly, dentists primarily suffer from no-shows and cancellations, something that our solution can perfectly address. And lastly, specifically in Germany, legislation has given us some tailwind in demanding that doctors implement a digital infrastructure by 2021. And we can piggyback on that and deploy our solution into that market.
What share of the dentist market already has some version of this, even if you consider it to be worse?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yes. How much of the market has a solution in place already for this?
Yeah. In Europe, we essentially have no solution. That's why we want to go after that market. There are certain, we see first solutions appearing in the US, showing that dentists are willing to adopt it and deploy it, and also talking about the benefits that they reap from such a solution. And we believe that this idea can be transferred to the European market as well.
Last year, a third of Gen Xers and millennials boycotted a company or a product that they had previously spent money on. So what's this all about? I believe that young people are awakening to the fact that in today's society, their power is their dollar. But we shouldn't have to wait for some scandal to hit in order to take a stand. And we need better tools than just hashtag activism in order to hold ourselves accountable to our values. I'm Brittany Chong, and I'm building an augmented reality platform called Allda, which aligns our consumer behavior to our personal values. Now, when you're in a store, Allda can scan a sweatshirt that you love the most, and it will let you know if it's as cute as it is ethically sourced. I've spent my career understanding human decision-making, and the common thread throughout my experience in social work to corporate M&A is that seeing is believing. Last year, I've led teams in raising $700,000 to build 2 B2B VR products. By 2022, this market is projected to grow to $59 billion. $2.3 billion of that is for augmented reality experiences in retail alone. Through a combination of push notifications and AR storytelling, Allda helps you and your network select and forecast the impact of your spending. The time is now to quantify and take ownership of our purchasing power.
You made a decision to overlay on the physical products. Tell me about that decision versus overlaying on, let's say, a map with an establishment and kind of something about that business as opposed to the product.
Yes, so I have some experience with building out 3D asset pipelines, and by having it overlaid to a specific product, it will give, our business model right now is a B2B model. So it gives businesses a lot more flexibility in terms of how they can use our platform, and it will be kind of like a plug and chug. So if you have this one wool sweatshirt that's made really well versus another one that's kind of sourced in a sketchy way, it won't be so difficult for the optics to adjust.
Thank you.
So if you fast forward 10 years, the chance of this existing is 110%.
Yes.
I think the question is how you get through the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the solution actually look like? Can you be maybe a little bit more specific? Are you using, the new Apple AR devices?
Yeah.
Are you going to be primarily a data store? Like, how does this work so that you make it through the next 2 years in order that you get to the next 10 years?
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll win so that we can do a little bit more market research. But the plan really is to start, we have a couple of different avenues that we can go. We can try and build mass by gamifying a free platform. Or we can build mass by using the AR, Apple's glasses and things like that. But I think it's really by building that social network and capitalizing on the fact that this is a movement people care about and giving them access to the tool early on in a way that is fun and playful and already integrates into their lifestyle before trying to monetize it. That's really the goal for the next year or so.
Telling partners at risk that you've just been diagnosed with gonorrhea is really difficult. But as a physician with public health training, I'm really keen that partners are told to stop the spread of infection. Last year, 1/3 billion sexually transmitted infections were diagnosed across the globe, and antibiotic resistance is growing. Text for Health is using a proven cloud-based solution to help people with a diagnosis inform their partners anonymously with a text from our service, and then helping that partner identify a local provider, and then getting linked into care with a powerful booking module. We're able to have partners told on one day and get tested the next. We're really keen to get some support to build out this functionality so it works on mobile phones in the developing world, and to build the analytics so we can have real-time public health action whilst maintaining patient privacy. Text for Health is free for patients, but we sell the software so clinical services can communicate with partners effectively and link patients to care. And in 2018, we've got data showing that we could halve the staff time to deliver twice the impact. So Text for Health is an embarrassment-free solution to help healthcare services do more for less. If you're interested in helping address the pandemics of sexually transmitted infections and get to zero HIV, then please reach out and we can work together on this. Thank you very much.
You mentioned the anonymity aspect of this. Can you talk a bit about how that gets delivered?
Yeah, so the platform is accessed in the clinical space, and messages can be sent from the cloud-based system as an SMS, and it comes from Text for Health. The partner receives an initial message informing them that the important healthcare message is coming and they can opt out. And then 15 minutes later, we send them the real message with a link that takes them to a bespoke page that describes the infection, where to find a service, and then when those clinics have appointments, they can just click on a few buttons and book an appointment for the next day. But there's no communication of the index, the person with the infection's details, or the clinic, so there's full confidentiality there. We take the front of that.
It sounds like you have proven outcomes for the solution. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it started as a not-for-profit in the United Kingdom, and that's where I've been building up the idea, the innovation. But what it has been is a small, slow-growing social enterprise, and it needs to be a proper innovation-driven enterprise that can scale across the world. Okay, thank you.
In the United States, there are more than 29 million of different small and medium businesses that are part of this entrepreneurship ecosystem. All of them work as a community. They are always helping each other, and I want to take advantage of this. But also, all of the companies that are part of this ecosystem have the same problem when they want to compete with the big companies. They don't have the volume enough to get cheap prices for their supplies. And this is one of the main barriers to get into different kind of industries. Let me give you an example of this. My father launched a company 2 years ago in which he had to buy 10 computers. He couldn't receive any discount because he was not buying a big volume of computers. But what happened if he could find another companies that also need to buy computers? They could accumulate this volume and go directly to suppliers to get cheaper prices for that volume. Well, this model could work with computers, but also with Dropbox account, with legal services, with commodities. But at the beginning, we want to put focus on the needs of the businesses around Somerville and Cambridge. Well, this is what Community Buyer want to do. Community Buyer is going to be the e-commerce for small and medium businesses in which they have to pay a subscription fee, and with that, they will be able to accumulate the same needs of products or services and contact directly with suppliers to get cheaper prices for that volume. Well, Community Buyer, work as a community and break barriers.
So it's a good model. I'm a believer in marketplaces replacing a lot of the way we purchase things today. I think the challenge is the type of purchasing will vary a lot for a small business. If you're a supermarket or a restaurant purchasing produce versus if you're a liquor store purchasing alcohol versus if you're purchasing computer supplies, each of these are very different ecosystems. So go-to-market question, like where are you going to start? How are you going to break down this large problem into something that's more tractable?
Thank you for your question. Well, we are starting working with two business associations, one from Somerville and one from Cambridge. We accumulate maybe more than 8,000 different businesses, and we are getting the information about what are the 5 products or services that they must spend every month. With that information, we will already know where we have to start for, okay? So let's say out of these 8,000 businesses, maybe 1,000 of them are paying for legal services. Well, we can accumulate this volume and go directly to different kind of legal services and get cheaper prices for that amount or for that demand.
I think it's a really interesting and big problem that you're working to solve. So big that some financial services companies are looking to get into this space. How are you envisioning you would have a competitive advantage versus those financial services companies?
Well, actually, at this moment, we have realized that there is 2 kinds of competitors. One is this kind of retailers that you can find out of the city. But to get discount for bundle over there, you have to bring your own volume of your products or services. And the other or the second kind of competitors is this kind of maybe non or informal companies that maybe it's just 1 person or 2 person that accumulate 1 product or 1 services, but they are not like structured or okay. I want to make difference about them.
Hi, my name is Kevin, and we're here to bring professional expertise to your doorsteps in curated bite-sized chunks, or tidbits. We all know that getting professional advice is expensive and time-consuming. Today, if you want a lawyer to help you understand a new lease, or a financial expert to help you figure out what happens to your IRA when you get a new job, what do? You can search through Google or Yelp, ask a friend, reach out to multiple firms until you find one that might be able to help, but then get upsold on a really big engagement when all you wanted was 10 minutes of their time. And that's what Tidbit solves. Tidbit is a smart mobile marketplace that matches individuals and small businesses with skilled professionals. We're taking proven concepts for flash sales, gigs, and matchmaking and applying it to the world of professional services, like legal, design, business, and accounting. As a user, you describe your problem, and our smart algorithm will curate the best set of potential matches to help you. As a skilled professional, you can monetize your free time by completing bite-sized tasks or answering bite-sized questions curated to your expertise. If you and a user match, you can then engage in a short video or phone call and get paid for your time. Tidbit takes a small percent of that transaction, so as your businesses grow, so does ours. Today, there are 10 million professionals in the US only working on average 36 hours a week. The potential is huge and the time is now. Let Tidbit create opportunities for you. Thank you.
Hi, I can attest that there have been a ton of times that I have wanted a really quick consultation and it's been hard to get. In the past few years, though, a lot of verticalized services have come into play, and it seems like it's getting pretty competitive. So tell us about your go-to-market and how you're going to beat them.
Yeah, sure. So we actually plan to launch our product around March 2020. And for our go-to-market, we would like to target like a couple of industries first in order to attract like a critical mass onto our platform. For example, we want to focus on accounting industry because like by the time we launch, it's going to be the tax filing season. So we predict there will be a lot of like inquiries around like tax filing. And also, there will be a lot of international students who are about to graduate from the college. Will have a lot of questions around immigration and jobs in the US. So these will be the 2 industries that we focus first. And once we actually have a large number of users on our platform, then we will move on to other industries.
So they say you never forget your first love. My first product that I built was a company called Elance, and then it took 20 years to become Upwork. One of the learnings from that was that marketplace was entirely demand-side driven, not supply-side. So I think it's a similar question. How are you going to drive the demand side of this? Because the supply side will come.
I think so for this, I've had previous experience launching a marketplace. And one of the strategies that we used was to actually attract the supply side first. So building the credibility that we have all these credited professionals. So be reaching out to people at companies and then making sure that we have a credible supply and then we can reach out to the users to come and use our platform.
The vast majority of bachelor and bachelorette parties take place across a few key cities in the US, including Nashville, Miami, and Las Vegas. The best man and maid of honor spend on average 15 hours planning the weekend. When you consider the 2.3 million weddings in the United States each year, that could amount to as many as 69 million hours spent planning. When I planned my best friend's bachelorette party this past summer, I spent over 30 hours coming up with what I thought was the most perfect itinerary. And then when we got to dinner on Saturday night, we were surrounded by 6 other bachelorette parties. The reality is, redundant efforts are made across groups coming up with similar itineraries in a select number of cities. That's where Last Weekend comes in, a bachelor and bachelorette party planning service. Una Choi, my co-founder, and I are developing a product to match your group's preferences with dining, lodging, and activity options across key cities. We just collect a planning fee. We're piloting the program with our first customer in Miami, and we've already secured $1,000 in sandbox funding. We're looking for additional funds to build and test our MVP as we consider expanding into other types of group travel. We're Last Weekend, and we're changing how bachelor and bachelorette parties are planned.
So in 1 year's time, when you've had a lot of success and you've built your first engagements, first folks going through the platform, and then another upstart comes and does the same thing because they realize it's a fantastic business, how do you defend that?
So I think the way that we defend that is by cultivating relationships with vendors in key cities and offering kind of exclusive deals with them. So we will provide our clients to you if you work exclusively with us, and I think that there's a mutual benefit there.
So imagining that you're really successful with the bachelorette parties and bachelor parties, where are you thinking of, where would you expand next? What would be the next horizons that you might go to?
So there are 2 different types of horizons that we're looking at. So the number one would be to really deliver end-to-end solution about wedding. So another idea that we're playing with was proposal weekend, or actually planning for the wedding after bachelor and bachelorette party. And Megan and I collectively, we've traveled to 26 countries in the world, and there are just so much there to explore in wedding space. So we are looking at global expansion as well.
And just general group travel kind of outside of weddings or bachelorette parties as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael, and I'm here to pitch to you Medici Technology. But first, I'm going to tell you a story about a guy named Sam. So Sam, fresh out of college, took a job as a back office analyst at his college's endowment. It's Friday, it's 4:45 p.m., and he can't wait to hit the bar after a long day at work. He's looking at the clock, counting down the minutes. He can almost taste the beer on his lips. And then the inevitable happens. His inbox dings. He knows this cannot be good. He just got hit with a 100-page quarterly report from his firm's biggest position. He will be late to the bar. This happens across all back office. The entire back office process is complicated and antiquated mess, specifically for firms that invest in large amounts of alternative assets like venture capital and private equity. The only way to ascertain the value of your investment is to read 10 to 100-page PDF reports for every fund that you're invested in every single quarter. Medici Technology has created machine learning models that extract the important information from these documents and allow the managers to have more time to allocate towards mission-critical tasks. Our solution is unique because we're the only solution that speeds up as we get more documents. Our team consists of 3 MIT CS students with background across finance and big banks, hedge funds, small tech companies, large tech conglomerates, and even entrepreneurship. Thank you.
I'm going to go out here on a limb. I don't really know your space that well, but I would also think that maybe there are larger financial services companies or companies trying to do this as well. So, what is your competition and how do you think you would differentiate from that?
So the rest of our competition within the portfolio management space, which is sort of like a big catch-all for that, a lot of them are focusing on speeding up the process once you're in the process of doing operations. They're not focusing on getting into the process of operations. So we essentially eliminate the need for data reading and data entry into the system, whereas the rest of them are focusing on speeding up that process once you're already inside the software.
The ML on this is decidedly non-trivial. Have you run any tests to make sure this is feasible?
Yeah, so we haven't been able to run many tests due to the unavailability of the documents themselves. I mean, you're a VC. Do you give out your VC reports on the internet? No. So decidedly, it's been a little bit difficult, but we've trained it on sort of public-like reports of big public companies, specifically private equity firms, and using different forms of conditional random fields and other types of natural language processing techniques, we've been able to at least show positive reports of pulling out the data that we're looking for in a very general manner, but the specifics of it, we believe we can get access, and we believe that we can with a lot more data and possibly using different techniques.
We would be specializing it for each firm contract that we enter.
$1.5 million children die every year because they cannot access vaccines. Meanwhile, $10 billion worth of vaccines is lost every year. Why? Because vaccines have to be stored and transported in the cold chain. If they are accidentally exposed to freezing temperature or warm temperature, they lose their potency and they have to be discarded. 35% of time this happens to vaccines because of malfunction in refrigerator, lack of refrigeration, or lack of electricity. My name is Mitra. I have a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences, and I'm an MBA student at Sloan. My startup, Engimata, has developed a patented technology to change the vaccine design so that we can freeze-dry the vaccine. Vaccines would be tolerated the freezing temperatures, and they can be thermostable and transported outside the cold chain. We have successfully tried this for tetanus, and we are ready to partner with biopharma industry and governments to access the $84 billion vaccine market that's growing at 11%. We have a great team together of PhDs with cumulatively 55 years of experience from the industry, from vaccine development, medical doctors, and we are ready.
Have you filed for patents on these?
Yes, we have got a patent issued in 2017. It's valid until 2036, I think.
So the vaccine market, as you noted, is very large, but what is the actual kind of lost product for the problem you've articulated?
Yeah, so 60% of all vaccines require an adjuvant, and all of the vaccines that require an adjuvant are freeze sensitive and will lose their potency. So the $10 billion that I have calculated is based on 30% of that 60%. So 84, so based on a $60 million that's currently the vaccine market, 84 by 2022. So if we don't act today, actually the problem is larger. It will be $16 billion by 2022. Thank you.
Great ideas don't always speak for themselves, whether that's in the classroom or in the boardroom. Hi, I'm Samia, and I'm an MIT undergrad and one of the co-founders of Improvise, along with Sanjana, who's a Wharton undergrad. Our digital learning platform, Improvise, trains middle school students to develop vital public speaking and improv skills through online situational-based games that teach students how to organize their thoughts. So currently in school, students learn math, science, English, but schools overlook a vital career skill, learning how to speak and think on your feet without losing your train of thought. Toastmasters and other players in the public speaking space today focus primarily on delivery, which means how to avoid saying or how to pace yourself accordingly. But the key component they're missing is how to structure your ideas. When you forget your next line, how do you come up with what to say? Or when you have 90 seconds to give a pitch, what do you say? We use organizational and creative thinking strategies to teach middle schoolers to do exactly that. After spending the summer conducting market research and speaking with many parents, we found that parents believe improv is an important skill for success, but we're unable to find relevant resources. This untapped market presents a huge opportunity for us to sell directly to parents, as well as eventually to school systems, positioning us as the industry leaders of soft skills education. We'll be launching a beta on our landing page in early December, and we invite you all to come improvise with us. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of stuff is in these training modules?
Yeah, so our primary focus is based on the framework of how you actually think about how you're going to organize your thoughts. And so we're using a gamified approach since we're working primarily with middle schoolers, and that's a great way to gain their attention. So the fact that we're using situational based is kind of like we're using a mock situation, and we're building intuition for that child on how they approach different improv situations. So we give them kind of options on if somebody asks you, like, tell us a story about a time you, I don't know, how to give a pitch, then it would give them sort of like different options on what to select, which would match our framework. So we're building that intuition.
Since I would imagine your buyer is the parent, how are you thinking about giving feedback to the parent that they're actually getting results, that it's working?
Right. So we acknowledge that along with practicing like framework, it's also important to really see those results through basic practice. So we're offering at the end of each month, we'll have a teacher as well as sort of like a group session online where students will be kind of presenting and the teacher will be giving feedback. So that's our primary, initially what we'll be doing. In the future, we see ourselves using kind of AI-driven feedback, but that's something we're still developing.
How do you plan to get to your eventual users?
Right, so initially we're gonna sell to parents, which we expect in early kind of January and February. In April and May, we'll be talking to different school systems about putting this in place for the following school year and how we can best fit this with a curriculum that's offered in schools currently. Thank you.
Imagine sitting in a prison cell, which is getting steadily smaller until it crushes you to death. That's how people with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis describe their condition. Each year, around 5,000 people around the US alone are diagnosed with this age-related, currently untreatable condition in which patients progressively lose control of their muscles until they are unable to breathe. One of the causes of ALS is the leakage in the barrier between the blood and nerve cells, as well as damage to the nerve supporting tissue. We at Neotenix attempt to cure ALS by rejuvenating aged blood stem cells derived from patients' own bone marrow. Specifically, we will integrate a therapeutic gene into a precise location in the genome of stem cells that we have identified to be safe and efficient in our previous studies. We will then deliver these modified cells back into patients where they will elicit their therapeutic properties, helping with the leaking in the barrier between blood and nerve cells. Our team is comprised of computational and experimental biologists, a medical doctor, and an engineer, and we are also advised by leading scientists in the field of aging from the Harvard and MIT. We at Neotenix are looking forward to the world without the prison of ALS. Thank you very much.
Wow, a cure for ALS, really? It's amazing. But watching what's happening in the market now, right, in terms of, one, you've got a long road to get through R&D trials and actually to market. And then two, watching what's happening with therapies like this in the market and the price point they're coming at and the pushback they're getting, it's going to keep evolving by the time you get something to market like this. You know, what are you thinking about that? How are you thinking about how this will actually be paid for by the time you get there?
So we have several strategies on how to eventually monetize what we have developed. And I think the most rational for us would be to, at some point, maybe at the phase 1 stage, to partner with big pharmaceutical companies which will help us take over some of the costs for later stage of clinical trials, while keeping us in the management of the team. And then at that stage, being acquired by a big pharma would be one of the options that they're considering. There are currently trials that involve mice, for example, with rejuvenated, actually not rejuvenated, but if you take stem cells from young mice, hematopoietic stem cells, so cells from blood, and inject them into the older mice, then you will be into the same mouse that get older, that you will be able to reverse some of the aspects of its aging, including some of the muscular as well as neurodegenerative conditions. And we hope by rejuvenating these cells in vitro, we will be able to achieve the same effects in humans.
One in 7 women have never orgasmed. Let's face it, if 1 in 7 men or 500 million men in the world never climax, that would be cause for a global crisis. Now, this is a huge reality for many women. I'm Haley Haynes, and I'm the founder of Allda, the first female-focused smart sex platform with the goal of closing the orgasm gap. Our core product is a vibrator that uses and learns from biometric data to actively respond with the toy, as well as to deliver personalized insights, helping women understand how they respond to pleasure. We also know, though, that often sex and orgasms is more than just the physical. That's why Allda's unique value proposition really lies in our toy supporting platform, which helps women address sex holistically through educational content, community, and virtual therapy. Now, sex tech is a big market, $40 billion with a 70% CAGR. And what's most exciting is that this growth is in a segment that has failed to address largely anyone other than men. There's a huge opportunity for products and services that are delivered towards women, who also hold most of the buying power in the US. Now, our vibrator is going to be positioned as a premium product where the average price is $180. In the future, we're also looking to monetize this platform for additional revenue streams. I created Allda to empower women to have better sex, No more faking.
I'd be curious, as you thought about manufacturing the vibrators, did you think about partnerships with that, or do you want to internalize it, or just partner with somebody who's already in the manufacturing business?
Yeah, so we do believe that all of the existing technology pieces do exist right now. So there is opportunity to partner with some existing manufacturers in China or in different areas. What is different about what we're doing is how those different existing technologies are combined. And so right now we're really focusing more on validating the market, the willingness to pay, and the economics. And as we look to bring on a head of engineering and start prototyping, we'll kind of figure out what the best route is in terms of manufacturing.
So you mentioned additional revenue streams. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I'll share 3 potential revenue streams. So one is commissions or partnerships. So one example would be a portion of the fee from the therapy platform. A second is potentially ad revenue. And then a third would be upselling or cross-selling future products using this customer data that we have, understanding the preferences of our users.
So let's be clear, if this works, it's not just any company, it's the largest company ever. I think if it works, I think the question is, what gives you confidence that the solution beyond the device, the platform, what gives you confidence that the platform will work?
Yeah, so there's a few things to that. One is that, and I see I'm running out of time, so I'll focus mainly on the last one, which is that right now, people aren't talking about it. Women have problems and they don't know where to go. They don't know what the answers are. The platform is the piece that really ties in having the hardware and being able to get those studies, get that community, understand what's missing for you, and that's how it's gonna work.
Welcome back, judges. Now it is time to announce the winners, but before we do that,
So last thing before we announce the winners, we just want to thank one more group. This is Kat, Sai, and my third and final entrepreneurship competition that we are directing for the 100K. And we have worked with an incredible group of second year and now first year MBA, as well as other MIT student organizers. We could not have done this without them. This event would not have happened without them. So can all of the organizers please stand up for a minute, and could we give them a round of applause?
And lastly, we would like to thank again our judges for coming out tonight and offering their unique perspective on these pitches. I think I speak for everyone when I say we're grateful for all your feedback. So can everyone please join me in giving them another round of applause? Okay, so without further ado, it is time to announce the Audience Choice Award. The Audience Choice Award is for $2,000, and this year's Audience Choice Award goes to The Last Weekend. Yeah, we're just gonna take a picture with the judges, so get friends. Congrats, guys. Okay, and finally, the moment you've probably all been waiting for. The winner of Pitch 2019 and the grand prize of $5,000 is Allda.
All right. Thank you, everyone. That's our show. Thanks for coming out tonight. We really appreciate you all coming, and have a good evening. Thank you.